ladies and gentlemen, to Tuesday Night Live podcast from the range with your host, John G. Johnson.
What's up, guys? It's John, the firearms instructor. It's Tuesday night. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. Now, we have some guys shooting in the back right now, so you will have some gunshots. And no, we're not having gunfights here. We've got the range open this evening. We're open until 7 o'clock. And we've had all the buddies in the back there are shooting away. So excuse the noise, but that's how I make my living, guys. So if the range is full, I'm happy. So how's your evenings? Hope it's doing well. We've got 5 on already tonight. If you are new to the live, go ahead and let us know you're new to the live, and we would appreciate you telling us where you're from and everything about that. As far as some of our locals, you know who you are. We appreciate you being here each week. Quickly, couple of ads. Our sponsor is myself again. We're sponsoring our masterclass. We got the next one up. Last night was the masterclass third week, and now we're promoting the class that's coming up May 5th at 7 p.m. What do you get in the masterclass? You get a webinar once a week. You get the ability of each week. We're going to give you fundamentals, grip, stance, trigger control. Not only are you going to get the masterclass itself, but you get a course ebook that we give you. We give you targets, downloadable targets to do each week. You get a full course, which is a course making system we have called Kajabi. Not only do you get the course, but you get correlated videos of each week's drills and techniques that we want you to. You're able to turn your homework in each week, us grade them. We'll either contact you through email or through phone calls and support you in multiple different ways. I started this channel many years to get a go to motivate, educate, and entertain, and I hope I offer you this to the masterclass. This is our second masterclass coming up. We had a beta group first, then we had the masterclass 1. Now masterclass 2 is coming up, and we'd love to have you. These are online classes. The first beta group we had, we were coast to coast. Second beta group is coast to coast as well. If you are on this and you are local, we'll welcome you as well to do the masterclass with us. We'd love to have our local people do it because our local people help us tremendously work on some new targets and things like that. If you're local here and you're not one of our members, when you come do your shot requirements for the week, your homework for the week, you do not pay for range time. Now, you do pay for ammo, but you do not pay for range time, and we don't force you to buy ammo from us. So ideally, this is a win-win. What's it cost? It's $125. $125. That is 5 weeks working directly with me through webinar, through phone calls, through email, through support. Not only do you get that, but you get the ebook, you get all the fundamentals you need, as well as the Facebook private group that you'll be in and being able to look at. So if you're interested in it tonight, guys, you can just put on your comment in there. Just comment, say, masterclass, and we'll get you the full information for sign up. Now, these are limited to only 20 students per time. So we want you to hop into these as quick as possible. Now, we never got to the 20 so far, but I think the more we do this, the faster it's going to become more and more imperative, and people are loving it. We're getting good responses, good video responses, and we're going to keep doing it. I think it's a great way for me to support you guys in many different ways. So that is my ad for today. All right, let's go ahead and take that fully off the screen. There we go. And guys, down below in the description, there's a link to the masterclass. Down below in the descriptions, there's a link to our ebooks. and our ebooks themselves. I want to give you one for free if you haven't got one yet. What the book's about? They're about grip, they're about stance, they're about trigger control, they're about sight picture, they're about sight alignment. Pick the one that you think you need the most help with, put it in the cart, go to checkout, put free book in the checkout, and you will receive that book for free. Now, if you want to add a few more to support my family and myself, you can. Those books are on sale for $2.99, but we only charge $3.99 normally for them. But if you want to add a few more into the cart, it will not hurt my feelings at all. Let's go to the comments real quick and see what we got here. So there we go. Terry Holloway, thank you very much for being here, sir. Phil, hey, how you doing? Phil's in our masterclass. You can give a little bit of comment about it, Phil, if you like, buddy. We appreciate it. Fishing with Rod. There we go, buddy. That's a good one. Thank you, Rod, for being here. I appreciate you very much. What you fish for, pal? South Carolina, I knew that, Terry. Phil, there we go, Phil. The class is well worth. Thank you, Phil, for saying that. And Stan's one of our local shooters here locally, and Stan himself has given us a high five on the class as well, because Stan's in the master class this week, currently in my third week. Thank you, Stan, for saying something. I appreciate you very much. And I haven't forgot about those videos, Stan. I'm going to get them to you, buddy. Stan did our master class. Stan did our enhanced pistol class on Saturday, and he did really well. So we're proud of him for that. So how this works normally is we do some PowerPoint presentation or video presentation or a script of some kind talking about what the issues are. It normally deals with firearms training. We did have a couple Q&As from our YouTube channel. I bet you can't guess the first one. If I am right-handed and left-eye dominant. Where does my gun need to be? Remember, the weapon itself needs to be over the dominant eye. If you're right-handed and left-eye dominant, the weapon needs to be over your dominant eye. The more the weapon's over the dominant eye, the more straight you're going to be shooting with the pistol. And the more straight with the pistol you are, the more accurate you're going to be. A level pistol shoots level. All right? And the second one is, how do I control my pistol? It says, I am 71 years old, and I'm running into problems of my pistol shaking when I'm shooting. I've been trying to really muscle the pistol, but my hands get fatigued. Can you give me some tips or advice to control my pistol? Well, buddy, let me tell you something. We all get fatigued. I probably would start by saying to you, and I don't know how many rounds you shoot when you go to the range, but I can tell you majority of students shoot too many rounds. So my first suggestion for you is drop your round count to below 50 rounds for a couple times you go. Second thing I would do, you mentioned that you were having your hands were fatigued because you're trying to control the weapon with your hands. You're not controlling the weapon with your chest muscles. Remember, our pecs allow us to control the weapon, not our hands. So the more you can push or drive that weapon towards the target, that's sort of like we tell the women, we push and pull. You push out and pull back for the ladies. For the men, you guys can try this right now if you like. Take your hands, put them together, and squeeze your hands together. At that point in time, thank you, Stan. Thank you, Chris, for showing up. Squeeze your hands together. You'll feel your pecs kick in. And when your pecs kick in, you definitely will be able to control the weapon a lot better. Age really doesn't really matter as much as control of the weapon. And if you watch a couple of those videos about muzzle flip on our YouTube channel, you'll find tremendous help with that because that's going to explain the muscle drive of the weapon. Guys, if you want to be like these guys, we're picking these questions out from our YouTube channel, but we have the ability to allow you to ask us a question each week. We put this together. No one has used it. I think no one has used it so far, but I want to tell you about it because I think it's very valuable for you. And it is called speakpipe.com. Now, speakpipe.com is just an answer machine, and it's here and goes to the website and speakpipe.com/John the firearms instructor, and you can ask me a question, a 90-second question. At the end of that, you can't go 91 or 92, it's got to be 90 seconds, and then we will host that question on the following week that it comes, on top of give you a little bit of shout out and let you know that you are important to us, because every one of you guys that spends your time with us every Tuesday night are family to me, and you're very important to me. So you want to use speakpipe/John the firearms instructor and get your question answered? Or do you want to maybe let me try to find it? And it's very hard because a lot of these threads on YouTube now, I got so many people commenting about something when they jump on something. I don't see them all at that point in time. I try to answer every one of my comments, but as we get busier and busier and more subscribers, guys, we got to 38,000 subscribers now. So I'm so elated. I never thought that. And Johnny and I started this 2.5 years ago when we had 38 subscribers total. And that I already had the channel for 3 or 4 years when I started this thing with Johnny and I. And then all of a sudden now we're getting 38,000. We're coming up on 40,000 subscribers, which is pretty awesome. And we appreciate each and every one of you that do subscribe. And you do send a lot of nice comments to us, and we appreciate it very much. So let's go on to the program this evening. Now, these guys are going to be shooting for a while. The moment I see them start packing up, I'm going to have to let them out. So I may have to take a little bit of break, but we'll try to stop at a good point here when I can watch. I'm watching the camera as we shoot here to verify when they are getting ready to go. It looks like they're still loading ammo and stuff like that. So this week we're going to be talking about 10 accuracy breakdowns. These are the things that we notice people do on a regular basis to cause them to be inaccurate with a pistol. And we're going to give you how to fix some of these things. So intro, here we go. You got your stance dialed in. You're feeling solid. You put your shots, but all your shots are still drifting left, dipping low, or just don't land where you want. Does that sound familiar? And for most people, it probably does. The truth is, accuracy breakdowns don't always come from big stuff. They come from the little things you don't even notice that you're doing. This is why it's so important, guys, that you get that tripod, that video camera, and you get it up to watch your hands, or have a buddy of yours shoot and you shoot with him, and you guys videotape yourself, because you really don't see the full picture until you watch it on video. And then you'll notice some of the dipping and the things that are happening with the firearm. In today's live, we're going to uncover 10 reasons you're missing, and more importantly, we're going to figure out how to fix them. Because everything we do here, the master class, the books, every one of my training videos, we're trying to educate you to understand what's causing most of your manipulation of a firearm. Because if you know what's causing it, and we can identify it, then at that point in time, we can fix it. But if you just don't fix it, you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results, that's not going to happen, guys. You know, one of the hardest weapons to learn to shoot properly and accurately is a handgun, because there's only 2 points of contact on a handgun, and neither point of contact can physically give you 100%. Matter of fact, you put too much grip on your dominant hand, you're going to cause a lot of left manipulation of the firearm. But vice versa, if you got too much grip on your right hand, but not enough grip on your left hand, you're going to have some float targets. If you're getting too much torque on your left hand and not enough on your right hand, the bullets are going to impact to the right. If you're focusing on the front post of your target, not the back post of your target, those cause problems. So when you start identifying the proper grip, that's why we do all these videos. We do anything we do, we always talk about it. Make sure you get this, and this grip, stance, and trigger control down to a science. For when you get to the range, you're not having to worry about that as much as everything else. Remember, we are jugglers, and the more balls we have in the air, the more chances we have of dropping one. And the one that can't drop is the safety ball, right? But grip can be a problem, stance can be a problem, trigger control be a problem. So we got to keep them all in the air to be accurate with a firearm. Whether you're a new shooter or someone who's hit a plateau, which a lot of people do, they get to the range and they just can't get past a certain points. They're always shooting that low and left. They're always doing something that's causing us inaccuracy issues. This is a roadmap to getting your rounds back on target. Before we start, I want to kind of give you expectations or what you should be thinking about when you're at the range. We should be thinking about a low round count drill. There's plenty of them we give you. We should be thinking about a target 6, 7, 8-inch targets. Most of my drills that we do, that we give you targets away for free, you just ask for them. We do a video on YouTube. The video has a target, and we give those out through the masterclass and there's stuff like that. But each one of those targets, it's on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So the expectation is if I put an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper out at any distance, you should be able to impact the center of the piece of paper. Not to the left of it, not to the right of it, not down below, because all that, you should be dead center of the paper or as close as you can. And that's the expectation of a defensive shooter. Remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about, am I a defensive shooter or am I a bullseye shooter? And most of you guys said, I am 20% bullseye and the rest I'm defensive. And if you don't know the difference or you're new to this, I welcome to go back and watch the live from a couple weeks ago. But I'll just tell you the real difference. A defensive shooter is a shooter that is more concerned about impacting the target and not impacting the bullseye. The bullseye shooter will get upset when they don't stack the bullets on top of each other. In a true defensive situation, our accuracy will weigh a little bit when we're in a high stress situation. So range time is for accuracy. Concealed carry, firearms training, defensive shooting, that's all for a larger shot target, if that makes sense. When we put these guys last Saturday, we had a defensive class. We were at the very first drill of the day. We put them to where you at, is what we call it. Where you at drill. And we put an 8-inch paper plate. We put it out at 3 yards. and we gave them the ability to shoot as slow as they can to put all the rounds in the paper plate. And everybody in that class, we had 8 students, they all were able to hit the 8-inch paper plates. We backed it out, 8-inch paper plate, it did good. That was the only sights we used the whole class. The rest of the time, we used the back of the firearm, keeping both eyes open as much as possible, and point shooting the weapons. And they were still able to do what we had to do. We did magazine changes, multiple targets, shooting and moving, and we were very unlikely using your sights that much, especially in high stress. So it's important that you get your expectations down. Don't force yourself to be a bullseye shooter if you don't need to be a bullseye shooter. My friend had just told me, he asked the question, I shake a little bit. You can't expect someone who shakes a little bit not to have a little bit of bullets off and on, right? But what we need to trust mostly is when I push the weapon out in front of me, it's impacting somewhere where I'm aiming. Does that make sense? If I'm aiming center paper plate and it lands below paper plate, then I've done some manipulation of the pistol. I've done some manipulation of the trigger or whatever. Guys, comments are being made. I'm not looking at the comments right now. I'll go back and answer the comments when I get done with this. It's a lot easier for me because it makes me go off what I'm doing here. I can only put one ball in the air at a time, but I see the comments. I'm not ignoring you. I'm going to answer. We'll just go back to them here a little bit. So 10 accuracy breakdowns and how to fix them. So the number one thing you could almost answer yourself, guys, is doing some kind of trigger manipulation. Whether you're slapping the trigger, whether you're pulling the trigger, whether you're jerking the trigger, whether you're doing some kind of manipulation, maybe got your whole finger in the gun, maybe don't, using the tip of the finger. Every one of these things will cause manipulation, especially when you're pulling or jerking or slapping the trigger. The easiest way to physically get this down pat is to dry fire your weapon. And if you don't know what dry firing is, and most you should, there are plenty of videos on my YouTube channel about dry firing. We need to get that trigger back into a slow, continuous press back until the weapon fires. We should almost be surprised when the weapon cuts. That'll give us a good trigger press. Dry firing, the white wall drill, we've talked about that before. Any kind of drill that's going to let you manipulate. Some guys have the, the mechanical dry firing kits and stuff. Like, you can use any of that stuff. You just got to get that trigger travel back. As much as that trigger travel will go forward, it will go backwards as well. And we need to get it back as smooth as we can without causing too much manipulation of the firearm. If we slough that, our accuracy will get better as we go here. Number 2 is an anticipation or a flinch. The flinching of the firearm is just an internal thing that happens to people. People don't think they really flinch that much, but you can really see it when someone puts a gun, someone's got the gun at slide lock. Because when they're new students, they don't count how many rounds they have in it. They don't do any of that stuff. And then they go engage the trigger and that front post drops because they're trying to flinch up before that recoil and bang. I told you a while back that there is a monster in each one of us, and it's trying to get the heck out of the dodge. It doesn't like the noise, it doesn't like the recoil, it doesn't like the bang. And 98% of people don't dry fire enough, so their body or the monster inside of us knows every time we touch that pistol, that gun's going to manipulate and bang, and it wants to flinch up or tighten up right before the shot. So those two alone are about 80% of the problems people have with firearms. It'll whether be flinching or slapping the trigger. one of the great things with the flinching, and it's a super fun drill to do. And if you're here at the range with us, just ask us for a couple dummy rounds if you don't have them. We have them in my drawer here from doing training with students. And all we can do for you, if you come by yourself, is we can go back and help you load your magazines. But you have your buddy load 5 live and 1 dead in your magazines. You're not going to know exactly where that dead one is. And then at that point in time, begin to engage your trigger. You'll notice your flinch or your anticipation. It'll show dramatically when you cut that shot and the gun doesn't go bang. You're going to have that coming back in nice, smooth trigger press, and you'll just flinch on instant because the body's trying to anticipate the recoil, if that makes sense. This weekend when we did the defensive, we had these guys opening their eyes. This is a very hard thing to do for people, but the more you dry fire with both eyes open, the more field of view you're going to get, the field of view you're going to get. And it's a good technique to get you learning how to shoot with both eyes open. I can tell you when you shoot an eye, close an eye, you lose a large percent of your field of view, and it's causing a lot more problems for you for focusing purposes, especially in low light conditions. So that's a good tip for you. When you're dry firing, try to keep both eyes open the best you can. There's a couple learning techniques you can do by taking a pair of shooting glasses and put some Scotch tape on them. Scotch tape isn't crystal clear. It's sort of got a matty white finish, and it would allow you to look through the glasses, but not be able to focus so well. So your dominant eye would definitely take over at that point. Some people have a real challenge having their dominant eye fighting with their non-dominant eye, especially if you wear glasses or anything else like that. It causes a lot of stuff. But being able to keep both eyes open when you're shooting is a uh, phenomenal thing you can build confidence with when you're shooting with both eyes open. Because technically, you think in a high defense situation, you're not going to close an eye. You're not going to pop eye. You're not going to look through and close your eye at 2 o'clock in the morning and bad guy stand in the middle of the living room. If that makes sense. It's definitely going to be, you have both eyes wide open in the midst of a thing like that. It looks like the guys are coming out. And when they come out, I'll have to go and let them out the door. And I'll be back to you guys real quick here. Give me a second. I won't leave until they're actually pulling in. They got 2 doors to open first. The next one is poor trigger placement. We talked about this many times before, but you need to think about when you're using the trigger finger that you need to use from the crease to the pad. Crease to the pad is what the best thing. That right there, the crease to the pad. All right, give me a second here. Let me get this guy. You have fun, fellas?
Yeah. Bless. That'd be a little hard. It's a damn fire. Two? That's a part of the issue. That's really a part. You got a pot? Oh, you don't know. That's not what it is.
That's a 223.
This card the AK.
No, that's shotgun.
Oh, shotgun.
Yeah, 3 bolt action shotgun, 30 out of 6. What else, guys?
We have
Oh, you got a 3 round?
yeah, I was little less.
Your number 50, 87. 50.
So it didn't have it, but so it's just 50 minus 20.
No,
So
28 bucks was the ammo, $20 is the range. Because you got 2 here, but you got 4 guys.
So how much do you got there? How much did you say that you did?
Well, 50 times 4 is 50 times. Well, these two, who used the ammo? Y'all
Yeah.
used the ammo?
Yeah.
You go pay for the ammo yourself?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so it's $10 a piece. Okay. Because they're like paying for the time. So it's 25 for 2, $10 for the experts.
But are you realizing you have to?
Oh, there's no gun license. Well, you should have passed back.
Yeah, that's it. You know that one? Because they did that.
We can't do just a background check on somebody.
Yeah, because the last time I was trying to get it going, shit, pending.
Pending doesn't mean you're not.
Oh,
Pending means they gotta look at something.
appreciate it.
Pending, but the problem with pending is,
You got it. Right.
so pending means that
I got it with a little gun card, but it got it crossed.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I apologize. Oh, there we go. Thank you for being patient. I apologize about that. High finances, 4 guys, they don't know what to pay. So when we're talking about using the tip of our finger, that's the important part. We want to stay away from the crease as much as possible. So let me give you a little bit of a. Now, really all matters. Can you see that mark on my finger? Probably not. Right there. So it really doesn't really meet exactly the tip of your finger. What we need to be careful of is this piece of skin right here. So when we're engaging a trigger, one of the most important things to keep our finger where it needs to be is we need to keep this piece of skin off the firearm. Because the moment it touches the firearm, it causes us to roll to the left. And it's a very easy thing to do when you close your hand up on the gun. You want to kind of curve your finger to keep gappiness on the firearm. And the more we gap it, the easier it is. Now, it's challenging for people with big hands, and it's challenging for people with little hands to get all the way into the gun. But the small fingers, like myself, I have small fingers. I don't really get a lot of crying. I don't get a lot of crawling in with my finger very much. But I have guys that come to the range, got big hands that crawl all the way in, and we got to really adjust their trigger, their trigger breakdown. So working on that slow trigger press while dry firing and repeating it. That's the key thing, guys. It's repetition. If you really think about it, it's the repetition that we're trying to build a muscle memory in. And the more muscle memory we do, the easier it becomes for us. So too much finger will cause a lot of stuff for left and right misses, if that makes sense. Another 4th one would be inconsistent grip. Now, we always talk about the 60-40. It's kind of easy. I don't know if it's true 60-40, to be honest with you. It all depends on the person And it all depends on how much chest muscles you're using versus your back muscles if you're a lady. But technically, if you really get down to it, you really think about it, if your dominant hand, these three fingers really are the only thing holding on to the pistol. So we can magically think that's going to be less powerful than these four fingers holding onto the pistol on our left hand. Obviously, I'm right-handed, right-handed, right-eye dominant. And then we bring them out or push them out. We squeeze together to close our hands up, and we drive our back muscles for the ladies and our chest muscles for the men. We close the back end of the firearm together when we close, and it makes it so much easier. If we can put together a consistent uh, grip pressure each time, that improves our accuracy. Hence the term 5 shots at a time. Majority of students can control a firearm through 5 shots. What tends to happen and why our accuracy begins to wane after a while is we don't have the consistent grip all the way through all the shots. I know when I would go to the range and put 15 rounds in the Glock 19, that I knew the first 5 or 6 shots of that Glock 19 were pretty close to where they need to be, and all the rest of them were up, down, right, left, forward, high. They're all over the place. So an inconsistent grip will cause a lot of the problems. You know, getting the book, reading how that is, watch some of the videos that are on a YouTube channel. But your proper grip is with your support hand firm, but not tense. We don't want to over torque with our dominant hand. We want to put more power with our non-dominant hand. You could use the line drill, which is a great drill to help you make sure you're putting the pistol in the proper group each time. That line drill, basically getting your hands and your weapon in that horizontal line in cutting the shots. This will definitely give you, if I'm engaging the trigger right, if I'm aiming the pistol right, if I'm getting a good solid grip, I'm not getting any kind of muzzle flip. It's a great drill, and those are actually on the masterclass playlist or the drills you need to know playlist on our YouTube channel. And those are great pieces of advice. Number 5 would be wrist, breaking the wrist during the shot. And this is kind of one of those deals. I don't know if you've ever heard the term lip wristing, but a lot of women and youth and senior women have a problem with this because they're not controlling the weapon with their back muscles. They're trying to do everything they can here. And it's real natural to want to use your wrist to aim the weapon. So you got the gun out in front of you, and it's a little lower than what you need. So you turn your wrist to get the gun at that angle, and that becomes a whole nother deal. There is people can do. You can heel it. You can push the gun really forward, and that kind of pushes the gun up a little bit. You can actually thumb it. You can use your thumb. Remember your thumbs when you're shooting a pistol? The thumbs are along for the ride. There should be no pressure or power on the thumbs. One of the biggest challenges people do is they bury their thumb on their dominant side and then take their other hand and try to squeeze or pull or jerk and push that thumb against the firearm, and that causes a lot of uneven grip pressure. And that uneven grip pressure, whether it's heeling or thumbing or one of those things, is going to cause a true inaccuracy problem. Adding pressure with your thumb or the heel of your hand causes low and left. low right hits. It can, as a left-handed student, it could cause a lot of right stuff. As a right-handed student, it could cause a lot of left stuff. And this is that whole thing again, guys. We make these presentations all the time, but each student does something just a little bit different. That's why firearms are the way they are, because they fit people's hand totally different. The Gen 3s and the Gen 4s of Glock used to have finger grooves. The Gen 5 doesn't have a finger groove anymore because some of those finger grooves were causing students not to grip the gun properly. So it's a unique situation, and each firearm's a little different. That's why it's so important that you get to shoot your pistol before you buy it. Because the more guns you buy without shooting them first, it's a bad learning curve. Because guess what you can't do with a firearm when you buy it? You can't return it. You can't return it. You got to take an L. And L does not stand for love. L stands for loss. Because no gun store is going to give you full value on a gun, because we can't sell it for brand new anymore because it went out the door. Even if you never shot it, it's still a used gun at that point in time, and you can't sell it for new. So, pro tip: never, ever, ever buy a pistol before you shoot it. You need to know what you're doing, pick the right gun. That's the beauty of our store. We are a firearms training facility. Now, a lot of the gun stores allow you to rent guns, but you need to know what you're doing before you rent a firearm, right? We don't allow rentals at our store. We don't allow people to come and rent a firearm off the street and go in the back and shoot. My insurance is so expensive as it is, guys. Letting someone go back and shoot a pistol that's never shot a pistol before, and they hurt themselves, or better yet, hurt somebody else for the $10 rental we're going to do, is that math doesn't add up. Now, we offer training classes. We offer the ability to take a class with us. You're going to be a lot better off. But imagine going to the store and renting. Okay, here we go. I got it going. I want to rent a tuba. You want to rent a tuba? Yeah, I want to rent a tuba. Can you play a tuba? No. No. Don't know anything about tuba. Why do you want to rent a tuba? I want to play it. Okay, here. You know, rent a tuba, right? But the idea, if you don't know what you're doing, why would you rent one? They just assumed. Well, I watched John Wick. If I watch John Wick, I can shoot it. No, that's all movies, guys. 98% of people come to range do something with a firearm that they see in the movies. This whole, when you shoot a pistol, you let it come up like that. And I notice the students all do that. And they do that because they're trying to suck up the recoil or lack of the recoil. They're trying to but the problem with that is when you lift it up like that, that becomes a really bad habit. And it causes you to put the gun back down on line sight before you get, so it causes the second and third shots to be all over the place. No, 9mm, 40, 45, all these weapons don't kick that much if you control them with your pecs, gentlemen, and your hands, and get your full grip on the firearm by having your two thumbs forward grip. Ladies, it's the same thing. The only difference is you're using your back muscles to control the weapon and getting a solid grip. Number 6 is a poor follow through. Now, you've seen this. You probably have done it yourself, where you shoot your last round and you drop your arms to see where your target hit. And that causes the gun not to stay on line, and it can drop the bullet before the bullet impacts. Now, it seems crazy, but when you watch people do that, we call that prairie dogging. And when you prairie dog a pistol, you're starting your routine over again every time you lift your pistol off the line. Remember, that horizontal line and that vertical line is important for us as shooters. Where's the horizontal line? It goes across your line of sight here, across your eyes. And where's the vertical line? It goes over your dominant eye. So if we cross those two together where they cross, that should be your consistent point of aim. That's directly over your dominant eye with the pistol. But the moment you lift your head to look over the pistol to see where the impact is, you're dropping your bullet impact lower than you should be. If we have the confidence that I know each and every one you can have, we don't need to look where the impact is because we already know where the impact's going to be. When someone's looking over a pistol, they're not sure if they're doing it right. Okay? So poor throw. What you want to think about is you want to keep your sights on target right through the shot break to the impact of the bullet. And then if we need to adjust our sights, we can barely just move them a little bit to adjust again and adjust again and adjust again. If you watch most people in the range, they're cutting their shot. Imagine we had that black line out there. If we're aiming at that black line, if your bullets are impacting the line or just above the line, you're not doing much impacting of the weapon too much and you're having a good follow through. But the moment you cut the weapon and it drops below the line, you have done some manipulation, maybe pulling the trigger, maybe prairie dogging, maybe not having good follow through, not having a good grip, maybe thumbing the weapon. There's a lot of different things you can be doing, and this causes the impact. Every bullet on a target should tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. Whole concept of the YouTube videos, whole concept of the masterclass is to help you identify a proper shot placement, a proper shot system that's going to make you more accurate and more confident. And with confidence comes accuracy, guys. So it makes you a lot better shooter at the end of it. Number 7 is over gripping with your firing hand. This is a very common thing. I'm right-handed, and people, if you're shooting your weapon and you are right-handed and your bullets are impacting right, you are over torquing with your right hand. Because when you grab a pistol and squeeze it really hard with your right hand, that weapon rolls to the right. Same thing, if you squeeze your left hand really tight, it's going to roll to the left. When we do the 60-40 split, the weapon will stay in a center line and make you more accurate at that point in time. You don't want to be white knuckling any pistol at all, even at the 60-40, where 40% of your grip on your dominant hand and 60% of your non-dominant hand. We say that an awful lot, but people aren't doing it, and they don't have to do that if you're driving with your weapon with your chest muscles, gentlemen, or your back muscles, ladies. But we need to make sure we're controlling the weapon. What needs to happen, more important than anything else, when you open your hands up and you put the two thumbs together, the gun has to fit and touch your skin in this grip. So when I close these three fingers here and close these four fingers here, the firearm would be touching all of skin. And then we close our hands the back side of it. We get that 360-degree grip, which allows us to control the recoil to a best our ability. Had some Germans over on Tuesday. They were here for 2 weeks, and they had an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they were shot out, man. They were freaking phenomenal. And I told them twice on how to hold a pistol. Little guys. and they were rocking the 9mm like they were champs. The two little guys, were better shots than the dads. It was kind of one of those deals where uh, just proper grip and proper stance. Told them once, and boom, they were on, man. But you got to be able, and these are little kids, so that 19 we're using is a pretty big gun, but they were filling their whole gap, so they weren't having too much problems with them. So let's support hand do a large, let the support hand do the 40% of the grip, and your non-support, your dominant hand is about 40%, and your non-dominant hand is all the rest, man. And we want to have a hand relaxed well enough that when we cut our trigger, I want to show you something here real quick, and you can do this yourself, right? If I ask you to just concentrate or engage in your trigger finger, you can almost see other pieces of my fingers are moving, not on purpose, but they do move. We need to isolate everything else except the trigger finger and let the trigger finger do most of the movement of the hand. And when we're trying to bring it back with all the ligaments tied up to each other, you can almost feel the other fingers tensing just a little bit while we're doing it. So it's very hard to just isolate the trigger. It's a trigger and trigger finger, but the more isolation we do with that, the more command we will have of it. And the more command we will have of it, the better trigger press we'll have. And what we tell you the very first thing was, the trigger press is really where the issue is. Now you can have better triggers putting guns, but you could still. Guy came in, about $3, $5, $7, $8,000 pistol, but if he doesn't want to use the trigger properly, it isn't going to shoot any better than a $400 pistol. Just spending a lot more money. It's a pride thing at that point in time. Over gripping with your firing hand. That's the one thing that people get a little carried away with. It's natural because you're right-handed. You think the right hand's going to do most of the work. In real world, us right-handed students and right-handed people, it does most of the work, but not in shooting. It's reverse. Not in shooting. Number 8 is misaligning the sights at the break. We are trying to control recoil. We're trying to keep that sight system level as best we can. We want to focus on a clean, crisp break. Allow the recoil to travel through the weapon, but let it settle back down so we can get the second shot done. I did a video today, which is called Controlled Pair. It's not double tap. It's more putting the first bullet out of the weapon and putting one right behind it. We all talk about it in a situation. If you're going to get in a defensive situation, you want to be the first, not the second. So that first shot is the most important shot, but we got to get our sights lined up because we're focusing mostly on the person, not on the sights or anything else, especially in high defense. So the 3x5 drill or the controlled pair drill is 2 shots as fast as you can at a qualifying distance that you think you can win. So we always start everybody at 3, 5, and 7. And there's some drills and techniques in the target you can use to learn from. But we need to master the sight alignment at break. So what's a great thing you can do, you can do some live firing here by doing one-shot drills, or you could do a bunch of dry firing drills at home and make sure you're not manipulating the pistol. That white wall drill is such a good drill because you put a black gun against a white wall, dry fire. Let's talk about this real quick, guys. When dry firing, you need to be in the separate side of the house. Make sure your range bag, your range, your guns, your ammo, your magazines, none of that stuff's in the room you're in when you're dry firing because you'll be pulling the trigger at your home and you need to be triple safe with that. So even during your dry fire drills, you want to rack that gun multiple times to make sure it's unloaded. Even if you never left it, it's just a safety thing, guys. And you get that trigger back as slow as you can and watch the bobbling of the pistol. The more the pistol bobbles, the more chances your impact of your bullet's going to be all over the place as well. We want a smooth trigger press as best we can. Dry fire is a great opportunity. See where the trigger travel. That's how far the trigger needs to come before the weapon's cut. When you have that education in your hand, it's a lot easier for you to uh, do the repetition of the same shot over and over and over again. So number 9 is a lack of visual patience. Rushing to fire without confirming sight alignment is a very important thing. Um, we got to be careful that we're not putting. We need to present the weapon towards the target the best we can, and this is one of those consistency things too. That's why I kind of like put people in the system here that we push the weapon out almost to our dominant eye as we drive it out towards the target. Then we're not doing anything crazy. We don't want to do any fishing with the gun. We want to come up from low and ready right up into our line of sight and then cut the shot and bring the weapon back down and bring it back up in the line of sight if you're going to be doing multiple drills. It's just to give you a better presentation. The one that we can easily repeat to become uh, more more consistent on putting the weapon directly over our position eye. Because even the guys that shoot low and left, they're consistent, right? It's consistent low and left, and you got a good group there. We just got to adjust that somehow or another to get it where it needs to be. And the only way to do that is get the weapon over your dominant eye. Always remember, if you're shooting over your nose, you're shooting left. If you're shooting over your nose and you're a left-handed student, you're going to be shooting right. You just got to get that gun over our dominant eye. The weapon cannot be over your nose. It's got to be between your nose and your dominant eye, whichever eye it is of your face. And that's where it needs to stay each time. Number 10 is shooting too fast or too soon. This is a very common thing when you see a target out in the range and you watch the guy. He's cutting shots so fast that he hasn't got the gun leveled yet. This happens to a lot of new students because they're not focusing on the front post or the back post. They're focusing on the back post only, and the front post is down at an angle. You want to make sure than anything else that the pistol is level. We taught these guys over the weekend, focus on the back of your plate on your firearm. Don't worry about your sights as much as you think you need to. That focusing on the back will keep the weapon level, and magically a level pistol will shoot level each time. Shooting fast is one of those things that people do. Just need to slow down as much as you can. That's when you go to the range and you buy 300 rounds of ammo and you're putting 15 rounds at a time. And you magically are learning an awful lot of bad habits when you're shooting too many rounds out of a pistol. I'm very fortunate. Most of my students come 50, 60, 70 rounds total, 100 at the most, and they're out. So it's not a big deal for most of the students. Shooting accurately isn't about being lucky. It's about understanding what causes the misses and having the right tools to correct them. Every shooter makes mistakes at some point. The difference between frustration and improvement: isolate the issues, apply the fix, and put in the reps. If you want to improve faster with guidance, drills, and other stuff, join our training group. join our masterclass. You guys would love that. It's a great opportunity for you to work with me, low cost. It's not costing you an arm and a leg. It's one-time fee. You get 4 weeks. You get you get multiple drills. You get multiple paperwork. We do limited people in these, so we get people plenty of time. We do a call just like this on Monday nights at 7 p.m. You get the master class, you get the books, you get the drills, you get the course, you get the corresponding videos, and this it's $125. Still, we are not charging the full price of that, which is $149, but we are getting a lot of people into this thing, and I think it's going to be something that will generate you becoming a better. Who's it for? It's for any shooter, whether you're a new shooter or an experienced shooter. This group we've got right now, the first targets, the base targets we did, we had a large percentage of the group do 100%. And that first target is a 6-inch paper plate or 6-inch target at short distances. We had guys doing 3, we had the guys doing 5 yards, and they were solid people. We got maybe 3 or 4 of them got red dots, but most of the rest of the guys are doing just sight work, working through their fundamentals. The first group we had was a little bit newer shooters. The second group was really, and most of the guys that have made comments about the second one is the dry firing has really improved their accuracy, which we know it would. You know it would if you spend the time behind it. And every one of these drills are going to work for to make you more accurate. Yeah. Keep in mind, guys, it's not about the quantity of bullets we shoot. It's about the quality of bullets we shoot. You know, consistency is accuracy, and accuracy builds confidence. Until next week, this is our class for this week. Let's go to the comments and see what people are saying. First and foremost, we'd like to say hello to everybody who's on the call. So Terry, Phil, Fishing with Rod. Got a few questions here. All right, beautiful. All right. Mr. Holloway, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here, buddy. Phil's one of our guys from the master group. Thank you, Phil, for being here. Fishing with Rod, thank you very much. Terry from South Carolina. Stan, Chris. Oh, I will, Chris. I'm gonna get Stan's wanting some. I'm gonna get you some. They're asking for videos from the other day. Well, Kurt Richards, I appreciate you very much. Kurt says, thank you, John, for your advice. It has definitely helped me become more proficient. Well, that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And then he says, my cold shots is now bullseyes, and the rest are keyholing. Okay. Hope to attend in person when I in Florida for. Oh, I'd love to have you, man. Let me know when you're coming. We'll put together a program for you. I've done that multiple times. Okay, so here's one. Any thoughts on training to shoot ambidextrously? Well, I can tell you I have done multiple videos when shooting one-handed. This week in the final part of the master class is getting these guys to understand that we may have to shoot with non-dominant hand stuff. Now we work exclusively with a guy. I work exclusively with a right-handed guy who lost his hand in an accident, and he was shooting a Glock 27. Yeah, Glock 27, which is like the Glock 19 4-inch and 40 cal. And we worked through a whole system with him on working through his shooting his pistol left-handed, and even racking the slide and loading the magazines and things like that. We worked through a lot of different stuff for him to get him more accurate. I can tell you, it's a lot easier for someone who is left-handed to do something right-handed than to get a right-handed student to do something left-handed. It's just out of the wheelhouse, if that makes sense. But I will tell you this, each and every student needs to know how to take the magazine out of their weapon with their left hand. Now, what we do here, guys, instead of reaching in, we use this finger right here, which is Captain Birdie. You hold on to the pistol and impact the trigger, your magazine drop with this finger, and that drops the mag out right in your hand or around the table if you lost your hand in a gunfight. Not every pistol will allow it, but a lot of the pistols' sight systems will allow you to hook on your pants to rack the slide. Loading a magazine with a damaged hand is going to be somewhat challenging. I did it in a class with this student. I can tell you it was loading 5 rounds was tough. Loading 15 was almost impossible. It actually was 12, almost impossible for me. But if we're in a situation we have extra magazines, we wouldn't have that problem too much, if that makes sense. So, guys, it has been an hour and 7 minutes. It is Tuesday night. That's taco night for us. And we're going to be heading to the house here in a few minutes to get that. But each and every one of you is so important to me. If you get an opportunity and want to ask some questions in regards to the masterclass, it will help you tremendously become a better shooter. I appreciate you guys all being here each week. Armored Ghost. Have you been here before, Armored Ghost? Have you been to our channel before? I don't recognize the name, but that doesn't mean anything. Some people don't comment each time, so. But we want to thank you for being here. And where are you out of, Armored Ghost? Armored Ghost, and that'd be awesome to hear that before we take off. But any questions for me? Any other things for me? I would appreciate it very much. If not, got 3 things for you. God bless. Be safe. And remember, you are your first line of defense. I challenge you this week, when you go to the range, no more than 100 rounds. Do some short round count drills. You need help finding some of those, you can go right to my YouTube channel. There's a playlist. There's drills you need to know, and there's a ton of them. If you want to go to the masterclass playlist, there is a ton of them in there. And each one of my videos in the last since January 1 have targets on every one of them. So if you have the ability, you can look at that as well. All right. So thank you. Have a good evening. Appreciate you very much. Bye-bye.